Hey guys, it's Ryan from Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning. Hey guys, it's Ryan from Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning. Today I'm Ryan from Long Island Building and Contracting Consultants. These Fujitsu mini splits, they have 4 options. Did a quick case study on a block that I actually grew up in West Babylon.
So now we're on.
Yeah.
We're on the Ryan Show.
We're on the Ryan Show. Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning and Long Island Building. But we named it. What's the name of it?
Inside the minds of
Success. So we're in your mind right now.
I am a success in my own mind.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So, all right, I'll freeze that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so basically, like we discussed, I want to get the message out to the youth of at least where I grew up, town Babylon, kids that
Born, raised, and
raised, and now my business is here.
employing a number of people from the town.
Yes, which is great. I wish I could employ more
Awesome.
that were interested in this profession, which we always talk about.
Yep.
But like I said, the message I'm trying to get out is 40 hours a week of work isn't enough to get to that next level.
That's part-time.
Yes, that's part-time. And who better to ask than Rich? So I guess I'll say how I met Rich. Originally, I met you when I was at South Bay Elementary School. I mean, it was like
Now you're making me feel old.
plant a tree day.
Well,
And
first,
Rich was there.
This is
Yeah.
Rich Schaffer.
This is Rich. Well, everyone knows Rich. Yeah.
Well,
Well, in case you're in Riverhead.
We can go into those credits later. But that's how I met Rich, town supervisor, town of Babylon, years ago. And then afterwards, later down the line, when I started my business, I would see him at the delis, either Justin's Deli or the North Babylon Deli, almost every morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning, which you don't think politicians get up that early. He does. I've never seen a man work harder than him. Even on a Sunday at the gas station, I would see him early going to a service call.
most productive part of the day.
And he would be up at the gas station 6:30, 7 o'clock on a Sunday, going to do whatever you were doing.
Heading to the office.
Heading to the office. But how many events you have a day?
Oh, yeah.
Every day. Meetings.
Yep, the
Yeah.
schedule for town supervisor
Yeah.
is 24/7. It's
Yeah.
like being the 7-Eleven of the town.
But he does it to a T, and it's all good. And then we became closer as I got closer with the Russo brothers.
Pete and Jimmy Russo,
Pete and Jimmy.
one of my brothers, yes.
Yeah. And people don't know this part, but Rich married my wife and I at Town Hall in 2018, and then married us again. Oh, actually, my mom doesn't know that. Mom, if you're watching,
We've given away the secret now.
But my wife wanted to go back to school at William Roll Lindenhurst as Mrs. Burnett. So we
Yes.
got married at Town Hall first, and then we had the ceremony at the
In
wedding.
late September.
September 28th. Yeah.
And we were out in West Hampton.
West Hampton. Yeah. So Rich came and married us.
So I can only marry in the town. So that's why we had to do it at the town hall.
We did it for everybody else.
And Alyssa wanted to,
Like an official, official was in town hall, and then
Yes. So Rich has basically gone from seeing him at a young age at school to seeing him in the gas station, seeing him in the delis, to he's family. We refer to him as
Absolutely.
So, I pick his brain all the time. Very successful guy. And
And the good thing about Ryan is, and this is what I always noticed about him, anytime I talked to him or engaged with him, he knew how to look you in the eye. He knew how to communicate. See, and I tell a lot of the younger people that we hire at the town, young men and women, and it's the first thing I notice about how does the person come off, how are they engaging, and he was always just, and you can tell customer service, attention to detail, and was inquisitive. Didn't act like he knew everything, but would be curious about various things going on in the town. So we always would have good conversations. When we went into them. And that's I think what you're trying to do, which is terrific, is trying to get people, younger people, to basically focus on who they are, what they want to do, and don't just think about the moment, but come up with a game plan and always have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, a plan E. Because any of those plans could go awry, and you always got to have a fallback position.
I think kids today feel like if they start in something, they have to be successful within 6 months to a year, and that's just not
Less.
easy. It's just not going to happen. It's my vision was, even when in my teens, was work your butt off your 20s into your 30s so I could be there for my family.
Right.
And I always had that mindset, so that always helped. I think that needs to be drilled into a lot of minds nowadays.
So people ask me, how did I get started? And I started in politics when I was about 11 or 12 years old. My good friend was a kid named Jeff Downey. His brother was running for Congress back in the 70s. And we worked on the campaign. We delivered flyers and we made phone calls. And we did all the kind of the grunt work.
Right.
And we kept continuously doing the grunt work year after year after year after year. Paying your dues.
Yes.
And so when I got back from college and I had a political science degree and I was starting law school, I went to work for a local assemblyman, Pat Halpin, a guy named Patrick Halpin. And Patrick had me come in and he said, okay, I'm going to give you these 4 projects and I'm going to have you create them from start to finish. And of course, I made a bunch of mistakes, I made a bunch of successes, but I worked my butt off.
Right.
In fact, to the point where one of the projects required, it was helping homeowners challenge their tax assessments. So a lot of people felt they're overtaxed or overassessed, and I educated them on how to file the grievance with the town of Babylon to show them how to reduce it. And it involved a lot of home sales and recent home sales and putting a case together, basically a legal case that we would present to the town.
Showing them how to help.
And these are average homeowners who knew nothing about this, who were intimidated by it. But I set up clinics at the local libraries and the work I did on that one was the most rewarding because we got about 500 families reductions in their home assessments, which saved them money on their taxes, and they could use for other things for their family. But at the same time, I worked my butt off, and the work I did. I mean, I remember being in Halpin's office at 2 in the morning, Xeroxing stuff and putting all the files together.
There weren't emails then, right?
There were no emails then. No,
no cell phones, no emails.
it was a can with a rope and but we had no cell phones. We were just having beepers and that one.
What year was that?
That was 1985. 85 and 86. So it was, but it was so rewarding, and I remember it well. And to this day, there are still people who I interacted with there who remembered it and still live in the town. They're older now, but why I stress it is because it took a lot of work to do that, but I learned so much from it. And you use the phrase "paying the dues." That's what I did going through getting my career going was to pay the dues and put the hard work in.
Well, you probably, like myself, I'm sure you do, probably still feel like you're putting your dues in.
All the time.
All the time. And
Yeah.
I think that's the mindset you have to have.
I wake up if I don't feel I've learned something today, I feel I've been a failure. And that's what I live by. I live by a couple of things. One is that if I haven't learned something, or I haven't had somebody teach me something, whether it's about them, their culture, their background, a particular type of job, livelihood, if I don't feel I've learned something, I feel like it's been a waste of a day. The other thing that I stress, and I do a lot of work with, over the last probably 5 or 6 years, a lot of work with kids who've ended up in having addiction issues.
I was going to bring that up.
With drugs and alcohol, mostly drugs, and we've had a serious issue going on with heroin and overdoses. We were pretty much in good shape until the virus hit, and a lot of people, just because of the anxiety and the panic and all the things, are back on that. We've done a good job at getting
And that was Saturday mornings normally, right? You were Saturdays?
So it was Saturdays, Sunday mornings.
Sunday mornings.
When I would have a couple of kids come over to my office and we would sit and talk about their week, about things going on. Have had a lot of success stories on that, but one of the books I give them right away to read is called Ego is the Enemy. And it's by a guy named Ryan Holiday. And if you Google him, you'll see Ryan Holiday has got a website, and he's got almost like a life coach type of person. And I get a daily email, I'm signed up on his email list, and he sends out various different statements
Yeah.
about the
Quotes.
advice, quotes, and things, and I use that with them, and I tell them, look, the only reason why you've ended up in trouble is because your ego, because you felt your way of solving your addiction issues or dealing with whatever demons you're dealing with was the best way.
Right.
And you kept trying and trying and trying to get through it, and you refused to recognize that there's outside sources or resources or people that can help you. And you couldn't put your ego aside to be able to ask for that help, because we all need help. I've gone through a series of anxiety and panic issues over the years, whereby I desperately reached out to people, professionals and friends and colleagues, and asked them for help. And again, it's a humbling experience, but it's humbling in a positive way. I view it as a positive way, because again, I'm learning something about who I am, what I'm about, and how I can make myself better. And so I give them the book, Ego is the Enemy. And what it's about is, it's about all sorts of famous, little stories about famous people who let their ego blow themselves up. Business people, sports figures, rock stars, who were up here and then crashed and burned because they couldn't get out of their own way. Famous guy who owned a company who was making terrible decisions and wouldn't accept input, and yet those terrible decisions crashed and burned the company. And it's about recognizing that your ego is not your friend, and you need to figure out how to master your ego, so that your ego doesn't control you, you control your ego.
I feel like that's like, I don't want to say popular, but like, and I don't know if it's because of me, but my wife was always big into mindset, and I guess I was doing it without really acknowledging it, looking into that. Like, I always had goals, and, like now people talk of vision boards and stuff like that. Like I always had those things.
You were doing it,
but I didn't know
because
that
I've
was a
watched
thing.
you, but I've watched you grow up.
Yes.
And as I've said over the years, I've always remembered the conversations that we've had. I've always said to myself, not everything specific, but I've said to myself, this kid's got something on the ball, and he's going to be a success. So I first met you and a kid
In a great van.
in a gray van, right, the original,
Yeah.
and you're out there humping around and doing, putting boilers in and doing everything. And again, you worked your butt off, and you weren't afraid to. You weren't going to ask anybody else to do something that you weren't going to do.
Yes.
And so through the years, and now when I'm so proud to see Ryan Anthony's, installation division, and I mean, now we have divisions. Now we don't need
a truck.
Yeah, and now we have a new company.
That construction company.
Yeah, that you're doing well in, and so it's so great to see.
Yeah. But it all goes back to who you surround yourself with.
Oh,
So I surround myself with people like Rich, people like you, many, people that we're going to have on here. And that's, if you want a future, what's the guy say? I think it's Dan Penny. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to be surrounded yourself.
Huge, so.
So one of the kids, and this kid's a great success story. He's been clean now over 3 years now, probably 3 years and a couple months. And this kid went from total terror, terrorizing the greater North Babylon, West Babylon area, to 180. Just bought a house, good job, clean, nice girlfriend, probably get married shortly. But he always said, he goes, and I said, yeah, you tortured us for like 9 or 10 years. I'm good friends with his father. And I said, and I've known him since he was born. And I said, you tortured us for 9 or 10 years. And I would always say to you, because of who you're hanging out with and who you're involved with. And now he's got a completely new group of friends. He's a volunteer fireman, back with some of his old friends from back in the day when he was in high school. And he always says to me, he goes, you always told me that, I was going to become who I was hanging out with. And now he's preaching that to other kids, kids mid-20s, late 20s, but they're going to become the homeowners and the family and the coaches, the Little League coaches and the scoutmasters. And that's what we need, not everybody on drugs.
Right. Well, drugs
Terrorizing.
and what's in it for me?
Scammers.
Yeah.
Scammers.
Yeah.
Anybody who tells you that they become a success, either you've hit lotto,
Mhm.
or you had a rich grandfather or uncle
Right.
or aunt who left you a pot of money.
Right.
Anybody else has got to show you the tracks on their back
Yes.
and their, souls showing some wear and tear as to
To get to where they are.
where they got. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, are you finding in conversations with other business owners out of the heating and air conditioning world?
Mhm.
Like I talk to my accountant, and it's the same thing with people at the accounting firm. With
Oh, sure.
young kids. It's just it's something that needs to change.
Mhm.
And
It's
that's-
you know what it is. It's got to be. Now we sound like our parents, or
I never thought it would happen.
but
And they said one day when you get older,
when you
One
get
day
older,
you're
you're
gonna
going to understand, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's in anything. And look, it's. I'll give you an example. So you mentioned Pete Russo.
Right.
So Peter's son, little Peter, called me. He was in 11th grade at the time. He just graduated Binghamton University pre-med. But at the time, he says, Uncle Rich, I want to volunteer at a hospital. I want to start getting things on my resume. Great, Pete. Okay, and they live out in Bohemia. So I knew somebody at Brookhaven Hospital at the time. It was called Brookhaven Hospital. And I said, okay, go see this gentleman, and he'll interview you and set you up for a volunteer internship.
Right.
So he texts me, oh, that was tough. So I said, call me. I don't want to text back and
Right.
forth. He said, call me. Tell me how it went. So he calls me up. He said, yeah, that was tough. I said, well, what was tough about it? He said, well, he started asking me all these questions. And then there was silence.
See,
And I said,
he is a great kid, that kid.
Right, he's a
And he's a whiz, you know.
Right,
from
but
what know,
But I said
Yeah.
to him, I said, so, and did you think you were going to text him the answers? And he goes, well, I was sitting right there with him. And I said, that's what an interview is. I said,
talking.
I said, your
Yeah.
problem, and look, I love you, buddy, and you're smart,
Right.
and you get 96s and 20. I said, but this is your problem.
Yeah.
I said, you can't have a conversation
Through text, right?
through text. It's not going to work. And so over the years, and I've gotten him into, and like I said, he did his 4 years at Binghamton. It's sad we didn't get to go to his graduation ceremony. I think they're trying to have something later on. But anyway, through the years, I've seen him mature so much, and because I've spent a lot of conversations with him, pounding away at
Right.
how, and like I said about you, looking people in the eye,
Right.
talking directly to each other. Not this. Look, this is good for efficiency, but this shouldn't be your whole life.
No.
And it should be allowed, and that's where I think these kids
Bringing it back to basics.
bring it back to basics.
Yes.
And old, it says old school, and
Yeah. I went for some reason old school so bad, but old school was a more respectful,
Old
from
school's
what-
great.
how I grew. I mean, my parents are tough on me, but it made me who I am,
Yes.
and I appreciate it.
I
now.
just came from. I was with a couple of our workers. We just opened a Geiger Park Horticultural Center.
Nice.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
My dad would love that.
send them over there.
Yeah.
It's now officially open.
Okay.
There are people exercising and walking, and there's all sorts of beautiful plants and bushes.
Safely though, with
Absolutely, they
Masks.
have masks. They're hard.
We measured 6 feet.
Yes, exactly. So we are
We're
okay.
okay.
Well, what's good is they were talking about one of the older women came up to me and she said, "This is great, Schaffer. This is great. We love it. We live right over here on West 24th Street." And then we just got into talking about the workers who were there, and she said, "Those workers are terrific." And they came over and she said, "I can't believe they're so young, but yet so respectful and so." And then she got into a whole conversation about remember when, and I said, so one of the kids says, "Well, no, my parents make me pay rent." And this is an 18-year-old, kid, summer job kid.
Yeah.
And I go, and his name was Nick. I go, "Nick, really?" He says, "Yeah, no, my parents told me I got to give them a couple of bucks for, I'm living here, I'm at food." And I said, "Wow." I said, "When did you start?" They said 16.
Awesome.
Because he was working,
Right.
I don't know, the jumpy place or whatever, the Sky Zone
Yeah.
or whatever. But again, he was giving her, whatever. And I said, yeah. And you opened a bank account and you learned how to, make your bills out, manage money. I said, you're gonna be a million miles ahead
And
of
everybody.
everybody else, and you're gonna stand out when you go for an interview for a real job.
My mom did that with me, with credit card. I think I had a credit card when I was like 14, 15.
But to show you,
Yeah, to
Yeah.
show me and have it and build it.
and it wasn't to run out and go.
And it was scary too, because I remember when you first get it, you're like, you know, what if I don't pay? What if I don't?
And the bill comes.
Yeah.
You can't run out and buy the girlfriend the diamond necklace.
Yes. No, I was very.
K Jewelers.
Yeah. No, we're not anymore. Listen.
Melissa would not. Yeah. You better be going on.
I know. Good. You know, I love when you work so hard. You know, it's more money. Nice things. No, my wife's.
She's very good. She puts up with you.
Absolutely. If you put up with me with a smile,
You're in good shape.
good. Yeah.
But
And
no,
plus, you know, Dean Colton and
oh my God, you're very fortunate. See, and that's why you've worked so hard all your life. Every phase. If you wanted to do the Ryan story, right?
right.
You have every phase, and you've gotten everything you deserve because of how hard you work. Not because you have a lucky star over here.
There's a little bit
There's
of
some
Yeah.
luck, yeah.
But
But
the luck only goes with how much you work.
yes.
exactly, because the only way you're going to get that reaction back from people,
Right.
or they're going to have a good sense of who you are and feel they can trust you,
Right.
and say, okay, I'm going to turn over my house or my
Yeah.
my
Basically,
heating
my
system, my boil. I'm going to turn it over to this guy, and you've heard horror stories before, and yet everyone on your staff is like top notch also
Yeah.
because they take after you.
Yes.
And it shows, and it's a great thing, and that's if you're.
Well, I learned from.
But if you give it, and that's what you want to tell younger people is take advantage of all of the people who are around you.
Yes.
Don't waste these opportunities to tap into their brains.
Or knowledge and learn mistakes that maybe they already made it. You don't have to.
Bingo.
Which still sometimes you'll hear those stories and then you'll still get, I can do it better. Yeah. You fail and you're like, yeah, she'll listen, but it's all right. But it's
Ego is the enemy.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I like that book. I'm gonna have to get
Oh,
Yeah.
Ryan Holiday on Amazon. I should write to him because I've been giving out a bunch of copies of it.
that. That's awesome.
I'll make sure you get
Yeah, I
one.
would like to get one of those.
Yeah.